I think what we're seeing here is a sequence of summits in which the Cannes summit is next, but it's about the fourth or fifth site for discussions of these issues, depending on how you're counting it. And I think what we're going to see is still another step in making the agreements more specific, more concrete, and more serious in terms of what national governments do and what the international institutions do. I think the most important thing may be, because it's the G20, and as you know, 10 emerging market economies are in the G20 as opposed to none in the G7 or the G8, is that you'll see a lot of pressure on surplus countries like China and Korea, and then Japan as well, in Asia, to support in a financial way the outside agreements through the IMF or through a global fund or through the EFSF in Europe, to scale up the resources even more than what happened at the Brussels summit. So I think it's an opportunity to sort of take some further steps to both be more specific, more marshal more resources, and to put in place more serious and permanent commitments on all the different elements here. There needs to be a seamless connection between what is decided on Europe and what is decided on the longer-term agenda of the G20 since the seminal London summit in April of 2009, where there was an agreement there to transform the Financial Stability Forum into a Financial Stability Board that was less Eurocentric than the forum and included all the G20 countries plus others. So it's a genuine world forum for negotiating bank oversight, financial institution oversight, supervision, and regulation. That agenda is not finished because obviously the European crisis wouldn't be happening. Our own implementation of Dodd-Frank isn't complete, to say the least. So the fact of the matter is the longer-term G20 agenda on financial stability and financial oversight and financial regulation still needs to take place. The long-term agenda item, core agenda item for the G20 on the IMF and more resources and reform for the IMF is crucial, because the Chinese, as they decide whether and how much resources they're going to put into the European problem, are deciding not only whether to do it independently or through the IMF, but also their choice in part has to do with how much more voice and vote and influence they're going to have there. To what extent are they going to be treated as an equal partner there, or are they just a marginal partner to the transatlantic countries that are dominant in the IMF under the current structure? It's a bit disappointing to find that France is not bringing this forward for heads of state to consider and endorse as a way of showing, I think, the world and the industry that it's a serious public policy loss to remove nuclear energy from the option of being a vastly significant source of additional supply of energy and power in the future, given population increases and increases in access to electricity and the like, and the huge demands that will be there. So I think it's disappointing. It's understandable everybody's trying to be a good guy, I guess, about treating the professionals in the field with a certain amount of distance and respect. But on the other hand, I think this is a public policy issue for the public, the global public. It's a non-trivial issue to have the Germans have decided to close all their nuclear plants by 2022. The only thing that's good about that decision is that it's so far away that hopefully they can reverse it. But they're not going to reverse it unless leaders begin to sensitize the public to the significance of this, of taking the nuclear option off the table. And I think the kind of movement that the IAEA and its members have made is in the right direction. But I think this is a case where the G20, if they chose to really lead, could actually educate and move this agenda forward and sensitize the public so there'd be more support for nuclear safety regulatory reform and international inspections and consistent harmonized regulations and standards across the globe, which would then restore nuclear energy as a safe energy option for the future.